Marketing, entrepreneurship, and all things small business. You're listening to the Profit 911 podcast. Now, here's your host, Justin Miller.
We're back. We're talking my favorite subject today, human resources.
Oh, love it. That is my favorite of all time. On the drive-in today, I thought, I hope we're talking about HR.
You know, I got a sign in my office here just to remind myself. It says, your job is not to grow the company, it's to grow the people that grow the company. So a little reminder every day. And
that's unique, though. I mean, I know a lot of, I've known you for a long time, but I know a lot of other small business owners who would never, it's like employees are the cost of having, I got to have you to grow my business. But you're right. It is an amazing, because once I remember reading that in your office, I started thinking about like how I interact with my people. They really are. Growing them is only good for your business.
Yeah, I will say I think having kids really changed my perception on personal development for other people and leadership development. And I think it taught me patience. Because you have to. Like the kids don't learn. Versus like idealistic, here's the system.
Strong-willed, just you're going to do it. Yeah, I think that's a parenting thing.
Everyone just follows things because that's the way you do it.
Yeah.
Like
I learned that the hard way too as a parent. You're like, that probably isn't going to work long term.
Yeah, everything's easy till humans get involved. But they also, once you get rolling, they're the single most valuable part for sure. They're what allow me to take 2 weekdays off a week right now. Other than right now, for some reason, we're in here recording on my day off.
Well,
I don't know what happened there, but
because it's like 1,000 degrees outside.
Yeah, we were going to record elsewhere. Also, it's what allows me to put the autoresponder on my email that essentially says, here's everyone in their job function. Like, probably you didn't need to email me.
That's true. I've seen, because sometimes I'll email you and I'll know you're out of the office because I immediately get your response. But I've noticed you updated it. It's a lot longer, but it does. If I needed to know exactly what to do and there's no question.
To come across without attitude. There's no way to kind of get around it a little bit. Like essentially, it says,
but it doesn't cross. I mean, I know you, so like I said, I'm not a client. It doesn't come across that way. But if you can't figure out who to call based on your response, then you shouldn't. be calling.
Most emails coming to me really like I'm not the one that's going to deal with what your issue was anyway. Like I'll read it eventually. So like if you CC'd me because you wanted me to see something, I will see it.
Yeah.
However, often I will just forward that to the appropriate staff member without responding to you. And it's not to like piss anyone off or anything. It's to stop back and forth emails for something that has nothing to do with me and I've hired someone to take care of. And they're actually, here's the key. They're actually better at that than I am.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Like
I see, I dream of owning a business like that where I don't have to be involved in every aspect of the business.
And I tell this to potential clients and they laugh, but it's true. You don't actually want me involved in your project because it will slow it down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here for, like we've talked about, staff development. I'm here for, like, marketing, vision, guidance, leadership. Like, all the things that sound, like, really fluffy. And, like, if you haven't done it, it sounds arrogant. It's really not the intent at all, but it's steering the ship while others are propelling the ship.
You've built a business that the parts themselves run the ship versus it's a big picture kind of thing. And you're there when you need to be there. Not every single day, except 2 days a week.
There's like a running joke here that like everyone's first week I'm out of town for something.
There you go.
Probably pretty close to without exception that occurs. Well. Usually it was for business travel though, so it's somewhat forgivable to them. We try and hire, by the way, like culture that fits and doesn't think us versus them and therefore doesn't get pissed off. And we are talking recruiting. So as we record this, I'm currently recruiting for 2 positions. We have offers going out on both. So by the time you hear this, like they're probably filled. So this is not like a recruitment episode trying to get listeners to apply. But we have a sales position that I'll talk about in a minute. And we have a maternity leave to cover, which is very quickly approaching here. So that put us back in the hiring pool for the first time in a year and a half, 2 years. It's actually been a little while. We did make one hire during that interim time. But every time we go back in, the state of hiring and employment seems to be a little different. And our positions, for the most part, are local in office. So I got a kind of a snapshot just locally here. But it's usually reflected when I talk to business owners around the whole country. And I think the current point in time, we're back to there is available labor.
That was what I was going to ask. That narrative of post-COVID where you can't find anyone who doesn't want to. Nobody wants to work, and they're all lazy, and they all want $47 an hour.
Well, you're going to hear people say that at any
But is that really?
point.
That's not as true anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, it depends what you look for. So I think that we're back to the labor's there. If you look for it, you recruit. I mean, it's always been the situation where if you're going and posting on job boards and looking for amazing candidates, well, a lot of them happen to already be employed elsewhere. So like, you should actively be recruiting all the time. But yeah, we're back to getting flooded with applications when we put something out, which there was a period of time there a couple years ago where, you know, it was crickets. Like you put an ad, you put an ad on Indeed and you pay to have it up there. You're used to being flooded with applicants. Now, a lot of them are garbage, but I'm just talking about the volume.
Yeah.
Like you see them come in. And there was a period of time where like, oh, we're getting a handful of them. We're not getting 50, 100, 200, 300 applicants. Or what's going on here? So that, I believe, was kind of a macroeconomic point in time that I hope we don't get back to. But right now, I think we're in I'll call it a somewhat typical hiring season as far as what's available, what comes in. Of course, you have to filter through everything. Now, the interesting thing I want to talk about is the copywriting in the ads. So people have noted for, I don't know, a decade, you know, how some of my ads are a little bit different. And I subscribe to the policy of, in general, you know, make people jump through some hoops to show they're serious and stuff. But that's another anomaly to our process. People get annoyed by the process. That's okay. I'm looking for long-term team members.
Yeah.
But the way we write them is typically to work styles, personality styles. So for instance, if you want someone that's following detailed procedures, I'm pretty good at writing to that personality type because that used to be me. Like, I don't know what happened that changed that. I lost all patience and tolerance at some point. But no, I can write to that person. And then when they read it, they're like, oh, wow, this person gets me and understands, and I'll look into this a little more. It's not all about the job. It's about the candidate you're looking for. Recently, we had a miss with an ad that I wrote, which isn't the ad for that cargo van you were selling. You never put up. That would have sold, but
it's already gone. But it probably would have. It was well written.
No, the maternity leave, I decided for the first time in years that we were just going to cover that position remotely.
Okay.
And I was going to post it in the Philippines for that, which I've had virtual assistants in the Philippines on and off for a couple decades. We haven't had one in quite a while. So I posted an ad for this particular position, and I used our branding and our theming, the dinosaur theme and all the fun stuff that typically attracts candidates here that have a personality and are here to have fun while they're working, you know. And yes, those two things can go together, and you have to make sure they have both. But I got crickets. I posted this thing on a Philippine job board that I've used many times over the years. And normally you're flooded with applicants. And we got nothing. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I read this ad back and like, I wonder if, like, I wrote this to the United States rather than the Philippines. I wonder if I screwed something up. So I contacted one of my buddies, Brian Durkin, who runs business outsourcing and has a center there with dozens of people. I'm like, Brian, read this ad for me. Like, what do you think? He's like, yeah, I don't think they're going to get the dinosaurs. Like, all right. And I didn't tell him I was thinking that, but I was already thinking that. Like, all right, let me do this, and let me change the job title too, because I think it emphasized the wrong thing, that they're going to feel unsure about that particular part of the job. So let me emphasize this part that's really the bulk of the job and the personality trait we're looking for. So we renamed the job title. I stripped out everything that to me was humorous, and I did a very, I don't know, it was boring. It was a very cut to the point, you know, transactional type, you know, you do this, you do this, you do that. And voila, flooded with applicants. So words matter. So now we're jumping through all the hoops and, you know, back and forth and 5 steps and making sure they read it and all that fun stuff, which, by the way, like half of the people are eliminated at every step.
Which is the point of that, right?
Yeah, it really is, because I don't know the process on that board, but I know on Indeed it's as easy as just clicking apply. I guess this job board, actually, they can assign points to their application. Like they get so many apply points a month.
Yeah.
And they can say, hey, well, I'm going to use 1, 3, 5, 20. So you can see
how much
they spent, which is kind of interesting. So, and also it flags them if they're bulk applying.
Oh.
So you get a little warning symbol that says, hey, this person's applied to a crap ton of jobs. So you can eliminate them that way. But we put in there, we always put like a red herring, something they have to respond to. Sometimes it's look up the definition of this. This time it was include a picture of your favorite dinosaur.
Okay.
Like stupid but simple, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't take them any extra time, really.
Sure.
I had at least 5 of them that wrote they don't really like dinosaurs.
At least they're honest.
but to what end?
I mean,
like,
I was just going to think a lot of them probably were like, well, now I got to go figure out what my favorite dinosaur is.
Right. Just pick one.
Just get a T-Rex.
Or I don't really like dinosaurs, but here, if I had to pick one.
If I had to pick, yeah.
So, I had to eliminate some based on that. Because when you're flooded, you can be like stupid picky like this, right?
Yes.
So they didn't follow directions. Anyone that didn't include one gets eliminated. And the second round is just an email back and forth clarifying, hey, what's your experience in these particular areas? Just starting communication. Do they care enough to even reply?
Yeah.
A couple rounds of that. This particular job I'm not actually doing an interview for. It's not a job that requires a spoken or face-to-face or Zoom communication. So I'm intentionally allowing people to stay in the candidate pool that don't have that interpersonal skill set.
Okay.
Which is, again, somewhat strange. If it was an in-office job, I probably would interview for that because if you don't fit in person with the team, that's going to actually cause a detriment. But remotely, not an issue. So we're in the middle of back and forth like that. I have a couple favorites today to make an offer to. And we did give them one quick skills assessment where they had to perform 6 tasks on a file. It should have taken them less than 10 minutes. And of course, many never bothered to do that. And about half of them did it improperly. And it wasn't hard stuff.
Weed them right out.
Yeah, they weed themselves out usually.
It sounds like it.
So we have a couple good candidates. The other thing I'm watching for is this particular job is during our office hours. So I know in the Philippines, it's like a 12, 13-hour offset. So that's an overnight shift for them. So I want to make sure that they've worked that before. We're very clear that this is an overnight shift for you. Now, this one does have potential to move to a permanent job and switch to their daytime hours, which would be nice for them, but not out the gate. So I'm also looking at what time they're responding.
Sure.
Fair or not, if someone is already on that schedule,
Yeah.
it's going to be a much easier adjustment for them. Now, whether or not they're working 3 other jobs during that time, and that's why they're awake, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I guess if they can get our full-time job done in another one, more power to them. They don't make enough that I care.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. If they become a critical team member, we'll care more and we'll pay more.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my little copywriting lesson in recruitment. Now, the sales job. So funny enough, I just made a job offer for a sales job that we didn't have open. Someone reached out to me that I've had on and off communication with for the better part of a decade.
Okay.
Who was a career salesperson. And the timing's never been quite right.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple of points in time where I could have brought him in. The opportunity wasn't quite right. And he happened to reach out again and say, hey, what's going on right now? I'm between things. Kind of interesting. I'm like, well, I don't have a formalized description on this job yet. There might be something, I'm not in any hurry to hire right now or anything like that. And I'm not intentionally like testing his follow-up ability, but certainly I'm paying attention. Like he's selling himself, right? So he's like, cool. Well, why don't I come in and we can chat about it? That's a good sign. Yep, I'll give you time. So he comes in, we chat, talk through a little, and I give him, the pros and cons of what's going on here. A really honest assessment of if you come in right now, like you're not going to have 100% of the support that I would like to give someone in this position. I want to set you up for success, but hey, this is a timing issue right now.
Sure.
There's, again, I'm taking 2 days off a week, so there's only so much time to work. And we haven't worked through the SOPs on that particular job yet. But, he came in, he followed up, and it was funny. During our all-staff meeting this Monday, a male person always comes in during that time. I can't remember what we were doing, but I was able to step out and take a look at the mail for some reason in the middle of the meeting. There was a handwritten thank you card from him.
Wow, now see that.
Huh?
Yeah.
What, a sales rep doing a handwritten thank you card? Like without a machine like we use?
Yeah.
No, so it stood out. Like he's not in a formal hiring process necessarily with us, so he's not competing against anyone. But I'm like, you know what? I think I'll offer him something. I'll tell him the pluses and minuses and give him an honest assessment so he can make a decision whether or not he wants to try this. Because this is a situation now where you may hang yourself because you're going to come in a timing that's not amazing. So you're going to have to step up quicker with less support than normal. However, we're also at a unique moment in time in that we're doing it's kind of event season for us, post-event follow-up. There's a fair amount of leads. There's a fair amount of outreach. Our sales team is currently swamped. Hey, if you want to accept immediately, you're the only one with this offer. Here's what I got for you. If you don't want to accept immediately, I'll reach back out when we've formalized the job. We've got all the documentation in place, but it's on my timeline and we're going through the formal process. Then this will be posted. You will have formal interview and we'll have an honest comparison. So I'm waiting to hear back. But yeah, I mean, we're always hiring for the right person and the right fit.
I was just going to say, how much of that is your personal relationship that you've known this person long enough? Is it a situation where you're like, this may not be perfect timing, but you're always looking to add the right people, even if the fit isn't perfect right now?
Yeah. I mean, the person matters more than the job. So everyone here, I subscribe to everyone being self-employed. Everyone has to provide more value than what they cost the company.
Yeah.
By a pretty good factor. So the question then becomes, okay, is their skill set a fit enough to something that could be an immediate enough need to produce an ROI? And is this someone that I would like here long term? If that matches, yeah, I'll do my damnedest to make something happen.
Yeah. I
mean, if we're in a cash flow crunch or something, the timing it may not work out. If we are in a time where we can absorb that, because look, any position comes in, they don't make an ROI immediately. Yeah. Sales should be closest, right? But still,
sure,
it's not going to happen out the gate. So do we have cash to invest in someone? Can we set them up for success? But yeah, the right person walks in and I know enough. It gives them a leg up at least.
Sure.
It guarantees them an interview.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Now this one bypassed the formal interview stage, which, usually when I don't follow my processes, I kick myself in the ass later for. So we'll see.
But it's not somebody that you ran into at Walmart picking up candy.
Yeah.
You've known this person. There's some history there. So there's already
I've known them from them working in a position that is similar to the position I'd be putting them. So from the client side.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't tell me from a management side, is this person self-motivated? Do they stay on schedule? Do they do what they say they're going to do? All I know is from a client promise side, which is important.
Yeah.
We need both.
Yeah, but evidently it's enough.
Sometimes the other side you can't tell unless you do it.
Until you're there.
Like the hiring position that's overseas. Like the job task was related to what they would do. Like the quiz was related, but it wasn't actually the process.
Same thing. Yeah.
It was something we could do quick and dirty that showed whether or not they might be able to operate in the system. Beyond that, we're gonna have to hire and see. I tell people that occasionally we got to kiss some frogs.
Yeah. Well, and that's this kind of situation where you're making not just a blind stab at it, you're making somewhat of an educated feeling like this. There could be enough upside here that this is worth circumventing my normal procedure.
Well, and it's what's the impact? What's the downside?
Sure.
How much is this going to cost if we screw it up? So non-critical failure, how much can you gamble? It's like marketing, like the ad campaigns we put out. We try and stack everything in our favor to have a positive ROI, but some clients lose money.
Sure.
Like they don't all win.
You can't guarantee that I'm going to make money if I hire your company.
I wish I could. So we have an earnings disclaimer on the website because of that. And, it is our hardest conversations to have. We actually have one this week.
Yeah.
And the sales team hates it. Like it literally keeps them up at night when it happens. The question becomes, did we do everything we could have? A lot of times, though, it's like, okay, what can we change on the next one going forward to get a better chance? It's marketing.
Sure.
Like you put it out there, you learn from what you put out there, you move on to the next one. And unfortunately, yes, not always right. And sometimes, like what's not supposed to work works and what's supposed to work doesn't based on what you've seen before.
Yeah.
And it will drive you nuts and it'll drive the client even more nuts because it's their money on the line.
Yeah.
It's our reputation, their money. And occasionally it doesn't work. And occasionally we lose clients because of it. And unfortunately, that's part of being in the marketing and advertising space.
Yeah.
That's probably like a whole episode.
Well, but that's no different than hiring. I mean, I've known you a while, and it's not like you haven't hired. I've seen the process where you've hired salespeople that work out really well. And then there have been a couple that you've hired that I know that haven't worked out.
Yeah.
You learn.
Well, there's... So sales in particular is usually a highly influential person, right? Highly interpersonal friendly, and which is part of the skill set you need for sure.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, that also means that they can probably sell themselves into the job.
Exactly.
So they can sell you on them being a good salesperson because in that moment they're performing.
That's right.
And they can sell themselves on this job being a good fit.
Sure. Day 2, when they're at the desk, they're like,
but that, yeah, they may.
What did I get myself into?
It may have been wrong. Like part of it may have been the game. Like, I am a salesperson. Can I sell myself into this situation? But then they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So, double-edged sword.
When I'm looking for work, I need to pay the bills, I'm going to sell myself. This is a great opportunity. And then they get into it and they're like, oh, okay. I got to do what?
Yeah.
You have what procedures? I got to do what?
Actually, that's interesting. So you put the personal need into that. So from a sales perspective, our team members, our campaign managers are not highly commission based.
Yeah.
And you know that because you've helped behind the scenes a little bit. And part of that reason is just that. Like, we don't want them selling and pushing volume just for the sake of pushing volume, and then the results suck. But that's an interesting position from a business owner to essentially not push as much. We let people buy more than we push them into buying.
Which is unique because most businesses that are selling something, they got to pay the bills too, and they're I'm not saying that they're not out to help the client, but I see a lot of small businesses that it's just as much about we got to survive as it is we're going to help the client.
Yeah, no. So I mean, the growth is slower, right?
Yeah.
Once you hit critical mass, though, and like the core bills are paid and the salaries are paid, at that point, should that be the driving force anymore? No. Should the sales reps be pushing people over the edge that are just hesitant, but we have a damn good chance of them succeeding? Yes. True.
Yeah, there's a fine line to closing, and there's a fine line also to just doing it because I would just want to make another buck. I mean, I don't care if it works for you. I just want your money.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with hiring people. I find that it's a situation where are you hiring someone because they're better for your company and they fit the culture? Or is that person, I'm unemployed right now and I need to pay my bills and I think I'd like this job. I think it'd be cool. I've heard that he's got a good culture there. I've heard it's a cool. Oh, they have dinosaurs. This is a dinosaur play. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, we try really hard to find people that are not running away from something.
Yeah.
Unless it's a direct fit with the culture. Like, we're running away from our big corporate job. We got so pissed at productivity expectations and like they didn't give a shit about people. That's okay. That's half because it's aligned with our values. But then beyond that half, the other half better be you're actively seeking something that looks like our company.
Sure. As you in your search for improvement or whatever it happens to be.
And hopefully at some point you had some exposure to a small business.
You're so ingrained in that as building your business. And maybe because I don't have anywhere near the scale, I don't have as many employees, but again, it's just me not being critical of other small businesses. One thing I've always respected about what you do and amazed by is the culture. You've got, this is what we abide by. Here's what we believe in. This isn't all just about making money. We're going to have fun here. There are so many small businesses so many of the things that you do that to you are just, that's the way it is.
Well, yeah, because I want to be here.
Yes, you want to. I think so many other small businesses, it's just that's never, that might be like, if we ever get really successful, then we'll worry about values and we'll worry about, if our staff is happy and if we can ride scooters during lunch and play pinball down.
My concept is anyone here could be employed elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Several of them may actually make more money being employed elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we've tried to build an environment where, of course, they want to be paid, right? Like, so get that out of there. Like, they have to get paid. They have to get paid decently. But beyond that, we have to make sure there's something else they're striving for on top of that.
Yeah.
So they got to be a values match. They got to like small business. We deal with entrepreneurs. Like, you can't have like a us versus them mentality. You can't be like against the man. Like, you can't be a victim. Like, it's just, it's not going to work. It's not what we do. Like, we believe in an expanding pie, like not a zero-sum game. Like, it's not either I get this dollar or you do. It's, hey, let's get together and figure out how to make $2.
Sure.
And same from a client standpoint. If the clients don't think that way, we fire clients too. We did one of those in the past month, unfortunately. Usually we prevent it before they come in, but occasionally we miss it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want someone that actually enjoys working, not just because they have to.
Come on. Nobody enjoys work.
Not every day, but the majority of days.
No, that's true. And your staff does enjoy their job, and there's always a little bit of laughing and humor. And I've never come in here and anyone is like, "Oh man, this is awful today." It's tough sometimes, but that's the nature of the business. I mean, your staff is generally happy.
Yeah,
they're happy when you
rough
come in.
days, and it's because I'm not breathing down their neck, right? Everyone's
because you're gone like 5 days.
No, it's because everyone's good at what they do, and they care, which is something that's hard to hire for.
Yeah,
but there is a difference. Like, I don't have to rebuke you when you screw something up.
Ooh, rebuke. That's a good word.
People feel genuinely bad. Like, when the client doesn't succeed, like, they actually feel bad.
They don't need you to make them feel worse.
Yeah. Do we keep track of that? Absolutely. Right. But we have mistakes that cost thousands of dollars here occasionally.
Yeah.
Like, that are directly attributable to a staff action. And as long as that person gives a shit and we fix it to where that doesn't happen again, like, we're pretty much over it in a day.
That's pretty key, though.
Like, will we joke about it in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as, like, I don't sense there's salt in the wound still. So we won't. But will I continually rake someone over the coals for it? Absolutely not. And I think that is massively different here. Now, if you do that, like, over and over and over and over, like, of course, that's not going to work. But we thankfully don't have that situation.
Sure. Yeah.
No, people care. I treat them like human beings. Human beings screw up sometimes. Occasionally, I have to explain that to a client. Maybe once, twice a year, I end up using words similar to, we try our best. At the end of the day, we are human beings, and here's what we're going to do to resolve it. But yeah, we're people. You hired us because we're people.
Well, yeah, but if I'm a human being on the other end as a small business owner who had that happen, I should understand too.
Well, yeah,
I should. I might not, but I should.
Doesn't necessarily make you happier, but I will lay out, what happened and why, and then your attitude dictates whether or not we stay, or here's your money, goodbye. You know?
Yeah. You have your people's back at the end of the day. You want them to succeed.
We have that too. Like, any individual staff member here is worth more than any individual client. So hopefully we never get in the situation, but occasionally something ends up at odds, and I'll take the staff's side. If the staff's wrong, I'll let the staff's wrong. Like,
sure,
they have to be able to put their tail between their legs, just as I do. Like, I'm not infallible. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
We move on. So, maybe we'll have a recruitment update here in a few episodes.
There's a half an hour version of how and why and
the philosophy of of why the hell small business is better than anything else.
I think those things are so important, though. And there's so many small businesses that don't run their businesses like you do. I mean, granted, you're a much bigger business than some of these mom and pop organizations. But, I mean, again, I'm not pining to suddenly have 7 more people and triple my business so I could implement all your methods. But I do think when I hire someone, or how is this person a fit for the culture I want to create, or that we are creating? Or will this person be here 3 months from now? Are they going to, like, in my world, are they going to go open their own business and compete with me if I teach them everything I know?
There's always some of that, right?
Yeah.
And now no competes are illegal.
It's true.
But I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, so when I backed off schedule to what I'll call part-time, although there really is no such thing in business ownership world, it's a very real concern of, is this going to affect the culture and the attitude of everyone here when the boss is away? And thankfully, I had the right people. The right people were already here. Like, it didn't matter one freaking bit. Hopefully, it continues to be that way,
or you'll be back in the office,
and I'll continue to be here less and less. Nope. Let's wrap this one up. Hopefully, you got some tidbits. Always, comments are welcome. Email us. I'm curious to see if these methods and outcomes match yours or not. And if you want to be a guest on a future episode, reach out. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Profit 911 podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments. For more information on how Profit 911 Consulting can help grow your service business, visit profit911.biz.